I mean, where else can we start on this card other than the main event? Alexander Volkanovski regains the featherweight title that was laid vacant by Ilia Topuria, with scorecards of, is it two cards of 48? No, one card of 48-47, two cards of 49-46. I feel like with this fight, we don't have to go through it round by round, in my mind, because... do you want to?
No, I mean, I'm sure we'll have an element of that. But perhaps before we go round by round, Joe, I'd imagine you want to open up
with the scores,
with an apology.
With what apology? An apology for what?
This is a moment for you to redeem yourself.
Get fucked. I'm not apologising for anything. I made the most sensible pick, which was a man who's 36, who's been knocked out twice in his last two fights, stepping up against a guy who has got some granite fists and kind of explodes, right? All lines, all angles, all narratives were heading towards Volkanovski getting slapped. And in the second round, I'm like, oh, here it comes. Oh, bloody Nora. And then Volkanovski, the spirit of Chad Mendes flowing through him, gets back up, right? And just gets back to work. I will say there's a few more elements to get to this fight that we will save for this discussion. Many, many interesting elements to this fight. But I've got to ask you straight up. Just give me the score that you gave this fight.
I give it a 50-45.
No way!
I did, yeah. I did.
Oh, okay.
So for me...
Okay. You were going to hate my score.
Closest... like 50-45.
Yeah.
You know, that you could have. That's kind of how I was thinking about this
versus Frankie Edgar, sort of 50-45, where it's like, Max is just enough in front, where I'm like, Frankie's doing good work, but he's not doing enough to win the fight.
No, maybe not in the same way. In that it's a hairbreadth away from, total loss, and
right.
I mean, I know we're going to talk about the whole fight here, but there's all these little details that come through. It's a 50-45, but Volkanovski looked like he had been hit by several cars after the fight, if you saw his post-fight
and he was
interview.
talking about fighting in July, and I'm like, bro, do not.
One eye was like... Did you see that? One eye was like sticking, the one that he lost his vision in.
Yeah.
I mean,
the good thing would be is that if he's fighting in July, it's probably Mofsar, so he's not going to have to get that sort of facial lacerations in the same way. So that's a positive there.
Joe, the thing that's holding us back from really getting into this, are you sure there's nothing you want to say out there to the Volkanovski fans, to the fans of the pod?
Fan. What did I text you?
Again, legal reasons, I just can't disclose that.
And I said, I was watching the fight by myself Sunday morning, and I said out loud to no one, I said, Volk, you never let me down. That is. And it was just so majestic. Do you know what it was? It was like watching like a matador. I thought I was just so blown away by that performance by Volkanovski. But just because I picked Lopez doesn't mean that I hate Volk. Like, what is this tribalism?
Like, how did you feel the walkout, Joe?
UFC now.
He takes over everything, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Now, what I'm saying, Joe, is that the walkout, right?
Didn't get me hyped.
Did you not feel a little bit like wrong with what you had done?
No, because to be honest, I found like the reaction to him coming out was a bit muted.
Yeah, I mean, it's not.
It wasn't Perth.
It's not Perth. It's not Perth. Yeah, but it evokes memories of Perth, and that's the thing. Like just Volk coming out to that song.
Do you know what I
is
thought?
One of the best sights in MMA.
I agree, and I also thought, here comes the governor. Like this is
that's what I'm talking about.
This is the governor. Because Lopez
to work.
Lopez, when he came out, was just like, oh, he's pent up. He's bursting at the seams. I thought, and I'm like, this first round. And
My Chemical Romance channeled through his body.
Yeah, and I'm just exactly, and then it just didn't happen. I mean, we'll get into it.
Well, let's do that.
Well, hold on, I didn't give my score. I gave it a very generous 48-47 to Volk because. Well, this is the thing. I watched it through. Should I give you the rounds I gave to Lopez?
Yes.
Round 4.
We have to do that.
And then round 5. And to be honest, even giving him round 5, I'm a bit like, I don't really care. Like it was one of those where I'm like, it was more of like a good effort round I sort of gave him, and that's about it really.
Like, that's scoring points for ability to absorb shots to the chin?
No, I just thought like he landed like a couple bigger shots, in that round. Volk did more work. But yeah, that was about it. But to be honest,
I mean,
I'm not
more work is an understatement, Joe.
What's that?
More work is an understatement. You got 43 significant strikes to 14 in the fifth round in favour of Volk.
Oh no, but hold on. I'm not accruing the numbers as I'm watching it. Like, so that's a bit of an unfair argument to use against anyone when it comes to these things, because, you know, Sean Strickland looks like the biggest killer in the world, and then you actually watch the fights, and it's like, well, okay, maybe not. I'm not making it a fair comparison.
You don't score points obviously on like the number of strikes, the volume of strikes landed, but yeah, you score it on the effect of those strikes. It has to be a pretty special moment when you get outstruck 3-1 for you to come out winning the round without a knockdown.
Rob Font sort of thing where.
Yeah, like just this. Yeah, the impact of the blows. And the thing is, like, you know, this kind of runs across the fight. You also have to, like, although Diego Lopez is a Terminator, like, he is still getting hit by massive shots. Just because you're not getting a huge read doesn't mean the doctor won't have a huge amount of work to do on him after the fight.
No, I definitely agree with that. But I score it, though, in the sense of, like, how a judge scores it, of, like, what's your score straight away? And I'm like, I'll give it Lopez. And that was my thinking.
I think it was round 2, wasn't it? The one that the judges were pulling to give to Lopez off the knockdown, I assume.
So the one judge gave him, the 48-47 gave him 2 and 4. And then one judge gave him, the other one that gave the 49-46 gave him 2. And then the other 49-46 gave him 4. So it's like, those are the only clear ones people gave him. Me personally, I don't see an argument for round 2. Really? Like, you like literally the last 30 seconds where you drop him, kind of gets him. He wasn't flat on his back. It was more like an arse bump that he sort of.
No, yeah, it was an arse bump. Yeah.
And it's like,
and Volk collected himself and then was on his bike. Not for the first time in the fight.
No,
and not for the last time at least.
No, but I loved this fight, to be honest. Like, this was close to being. We'll get to Volk. Can we just start with Lopez here? After round 1, I'm a bit like, okay, maybe he's saving himself here. He's just settling himself into the fight. Maybe he's a bit worried about 5-round cardio and all that. He has immediately dropped around to Volkanovski, which is probably not the best thing to do. And then round 2's going, I'm like, wow, he really is flustered, I thought. Like, truly, truly flustered. And that comes down to a couple different things. Alexander Volkanovski is very good. Maybe he's worried about his cardio, because some people have talked about it. And maybe the moment, and maybe the fact that you haven't stuck to what got you to the dance is maybe starting to take an effect on you. Because I think if Lopez had just decided, I'm fighting this as 3 rounds, and then round 4 and 5 I'll see how I go, I think it would have been a lot closer, perhaps. I just thought his game planning was pretty poor.
Oh, extremely. No, so, he should have a lot of regrets.
Yeah, because what I said to you before was, like, when I saw the reactions online and people were like, Lopez fought really well, and I was just like, I don't think he did.
Well, no, he didn't fought well, but he did show off some incredible attributes. He showed them off a little bit too much. Leave a little bit to the imagination. And the attributes I'm mainly referencing there is he was dogged in his pursuit of Volk, not extremely good at cutting Volk off.
Terrible.
Yeah. He wasn't able to even if he's not going to land the killer blow, using like wide hooks to kind of put Volk into position so he can land.
Big steps as well to your left to sort of cut him off.
Cut him off, or cut him off with strikes is what I'm getting at as well.
Yeah.
But he was on his bike pursuing him, so he had the cardio to do that, and he also had the determination and just unbelievable chin. He just took blow after blow, stiff jab after stiff jab, to the point that Volk kind of said himself he had some regrets after the fight, because he was like, man, I thought I could have done more work in there. I could see so many shots; they were there for me, but it was a little bit gun shy. I think an aspect of that.
So.
Well, yeah. When you hit the guy with those shots and you get nothing off of him, and he just gets on his bike after you. Yeah. So I can't say that he fought well, but he's a worthy contender. He just needs a bit more honing.
Yeah, definitely. There was an interesting statistic that popped up as well during the fight, where it came up with advancing. It had like Lopez advancing 90% of the time and Volk advancing 10% of the time. I don't like that as a term, because basically Lopez was just following, which, whatever. and then also that kind of makes Volkanovski look like he's being backed up the whole time, whereas the game plan was clearly draw him into you,
and
calf kicks, turn him, because he kept turning, and Volk just kept getting the centre stage, would back centre of the ring, back up, turn, centre, back, and it was just that for a whole fight. It was really quite surprising, and I don't know, was there not the instruction from the corner to be like, take a big shot to go this way to try and get him back onto your right? Like, it was very odd.
After the knockdown, there was some concern in Volk's corner that he was exiting, both straight back, and also when he was peeling off, he was peeling off to the same side, and they felt like Lopez was starting to get a tell on that and was kind of boxing him in. I mean, also when I referenced, that this was the kind of closest 50-45 that I've seen, I don't mean that every round was a hair's breadth apart. I thought it was a completely dominant performance from Volk. It was a hair's breadth away because I was nervous, clenched, tense right until the end of the fight because, like, Lopez did carry that threat, and Volk had to be smart to come out of the fight as the winner.
So you really wanted Volk to win?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I tend not to have that for anyone. Like, I'm more just in a sort of sense of...
No man is an island, Joe.
Well, I just want to... well, it's just more in the thing of, like... Well, I just want to see who wins. Do you know what I mean? So I don't tend to have... I mean, I love Volk. I think he's great.
More forensic, not like passion-driven, more head over heart.
Yeah, a little bit. I guess maybe because, like, we know how the game goes, and Tony was a pretty bad example of that, where I was so desperate for him to get that unifying title shot. It just never happened for him, and it kind of guts you a little bit.
Nah, I'm sorry. For me, Volk is just a role model. That kind of, like, let's get to work mentality, like the humbleness to it, but the sincerity.
The working man's fighter.
Yeah, completely, and it was embodied here again. The
Stone Cold Steve Austin of MMA, just represents the working man.
And you've got to get, I don't know how you can't be moved by that, motivated by that. For me, Volk is a example.
I cringed a bit when they said, what was that thing he said in the post-fight press conference, or the post-fight promo in the ring? Adversity is a privilege, or something like that. What was that quote? I was like, bro, you listening to too many podcasts with, like, Marines in it who have killed children in the Middle East. Like, please stop listening to that. Right. Like, it's just whatever. Like, I'm not having that. Volk, you're a tremendous athlete. Yeah, let's give him some credit for that. You're a damn smart fighter as well. I don't know. Like, yeah, you came up against...
The first man.
You came up against a guy upper weight class who's the pound for pound best fighter in the world. And then you fought a guy who is the next guy, who's the young swaggering dude who's got incredible KO power to the point where he knocked out Max Holloway. Clean. Like, there's no shame in losing to those two fights. Do you know what I mean?
No, I don't think he carries shame. I think it's more, now that because of the nature of those losses and the fact that they happen consecutively like that, that it's more, as we said, he was or is the man. He was competitive in the first Makhachev fight, and obviously he took it 12 days notice. The second Makhachev fight, I'm not saying...
Yeah. No, I agree.
He should be taking those fights. I'm just saying that he felt a loss of prestige. Prestige. And not because of the greatness of the opponent. That can't be denied. But more in that, like, people are talking like he wasn't able to be competitive in them, which, I don't think is completely fair. You are one of those people, Joe. You thought that Topuria was just streaks ahead. Obviously, the nature of the result, kind of confirms that. But Volk was in the fight until he wasn't.
I felt like no matter when he fought Topuria, if he rematched him now, like, whenever he was going to fight that guy, it was not going to go well for him. Like, I'm pretty convinced of that. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. And if you have that in mind, then obviously the scale of Volk's achievement is somewhat diminished. But let's recognise it again. What he's coming back from, the fact that he can come in here as an underdog against Diego Lopez. There are levels.
Was he underdog going into the actual fight?
He was underdog, but money came in on him to the point that it moved him to favourite by the time the fight actually started.
Right, okay.
But the fact it was in question, you even got some podcasters who picked Diego Lopez for this fight.
Yeah, which is honestly not a shocking decision at all. Like, you keep going on about, like, oh, how can anyone pick Lopez over Volk? It's like, because he's been knocked out twice by younger men.
Yeah, and
so, he's 36 years old, and the whole the curse, which is nonsense. But like, no one aged.
The curse of old age.
Yeah. Well, it's just the 35 and over rule of people in lightweight and down. They don't win title fights. So Volk's the first one to do that. I think it helped that he was fighting Lopez, who before in our preview pod said this is not a guy who's going to hold the belt for a long time. The lineage of featherweight champions in the UFC is Jose Aldo, Conor McGregor, who, whatever, back to Aldo, Holloway, Volkanovski, then Topuria, which I guess maybe whatever, but there's a certain caliber of dude who gets to hold that belt.
Yeah, one of these is not like the others.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like you go from, Aldo, Holloway, Volkanovski, Lopez. It's like, there feels like a drop off there. It's like if Yair won it, I'd be like, man, maybe the division's not that good now, or maybe it's like leveled off a bit. So I don't know. Maybe I'm just being overly harsh here.
I really think you are. Yeah, I really think you are. Somebody spat in your porridge this morning. I mean, it's a great win. It was a fun fight. Yeah, and there's interesting things to do with both of these guys. But Volk, he got me. He got me in that same place, that same special place that he's got me before. And his talk in the post-fight press conference, that hunger, that earnest hunger. I don't know. There's just something really refreshing.
He's a competitor.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
he's a competitor.
But he's not like I don't know. He's not like a monster or like a.
Well, that's the thing. Like
he's relatable.
He's not a monster in terms of like doesn't have knockout power. He's not like a submission wrestler. He's just a really good game planner. I mean, I did notice an interesting thing because I will say I know what your reaction is going to be when I say this. I think the Volk that fought Yair blows out Lopez, right? Like not even close.
Before the 2 knockout losses.
Yeah, that guy blows out Lopez.
Well, like it's a completely different era. Like there's a fragility.
It's not a different era, bro.
It is a different era.
It's the same.
This is a different. It's a different time.
I hate. No.
Joe, at no point in this Lopez fight, before those knockout losses,
whenever I go like Dominic Cruz is the best bantamweight ever, you're like, oh, it's a different era. That doesn't count. The new era would beat him, and then it's like, now you're using
the new era did beat him.
What's that?
The new era Vera did very much beat him.
Yeah, but, bro, come on, man. You can't compare Dominic Cruz, WEC. It is a different era. No, what I was just saying was that, like, I think Volk is also very aware of his physical limitations, but in the sense of his height and all that. And I think he's also aware of the fact that he has maybe slowed down a touch as well. Like maybe the speed isn't quite there in the same way. No, I'm about to pay him a huge compliment because he does something which most fighters don't do, which is they adjust. They don't adjust, I should say, and he did. So whenever you watch a Volk fight from when he fought Aldo or Holloway the first 2 times, picture an Alexander Volkanovski feint. It's the full body, the head's jutting and all this. He's trying to get the reads and all that. He's trying to give these things. He didn't do that in this fight. He did a lot of hand feinting instead. And I think that's a realization the guy was just like, maybe I don't have the same speed
to get out of it.
To go, like get those sorts of things. So I'm going to use my hands instead for it. That's a smart fighter. Mm-hmm. That's a guy going like, all right, I'm going to remove that from my game and I'm going to add something else to get the same reactions.
Yeah,
and that's credit I'm giving this guy. He slowed down a touch. What can I add? That's that.
Yeah. I completely agree. When I say new era, what I mean is that yes, I don't think there's been a massive physical decline, but I will acknowledge, when I didn't say
massive physical decline.
No.
Enough of one where he's decided to make a change.
Yeah, okay, fantastic. But of course, the biggest change is that he's been knocked out twice in a row and has all these doubters before. Yeah. Before these losses, I don't worry for Volk at any moment in this fight. At any moment. I don't feel tense until the end of the 25th minute. I'm just like, oh boy, somebody get Diego Lopez a doctor because he's going to need it, And that is the change. There's that fragility to him, and that just makes the win all the more greater because the vast majority of guys in his position with that fragility, with that form of greatness, being able to bite down on certain shots, and they would get knocked out. They lose this fight, and Volk could have lost it too. So, great IQ, great performance. He is back.
He's great.
Who's he going to fight next, Joe?
I assume Movsar will be next.
I can't believe that Volkanovski was talking about Movsar. I just cannot.
I love it.
Yeah, it's amazing. Again, it's amazing because Movsar, as we know, has no profile, no hype behind him, but is a legitimate challenge, a real problem. It'd be not easy to pick, Volk going into that fight.
Well, that's the thing I want to ask you. Is this similar to when Adesanya won the title back from Pereira? It's different in that Adesanya immediately got back in the saddle and he's just like, I want that fight again. And he did it 5 months later. Volk took a year off. He let himself recover. He didn't, rush back to... Hold on, I'm just getting a phone call here. I'm going to have to... There you go. He didn't rush back into it. He was clever in how he chose that sort of his point to come back. I wonder if he can still keep the title in this. Like, if he lost the title in the next fight, would that be that surprising?
No, it wouldn't. It wouldn't. Hence why it's just incredible to me that he is saying the name Movsar Evloev. I would have thought he would be saying names like... Well, to be fair, there's not really an obvious one out there, but Yair was making out that he had been promised a title fight.
Nonsense.
I just blew my mind. Dana somehow didn't get asked about that in the post-fight press conference.
How can you have Yair fight for a title?
We'll get to that young man in a minute. Nonsense. But if I am Volkanovski, I'm like, oh well, I hear that Yair's next. The words Movsar Evloev are not coming out of my mouth.
But then
maybe Diego Lopez needs a rematch. Yeah, he's been exciting, and I'll let him have another go.
Yeah, but he doesn't think like that, though.
No, I know,
and that's the brilliance.
That's the incredible